Welcome to Sunday Chat with the Youngs, a monthly podcast dedicated to stories about youngsters either family business ownership, tales of running a restaurant, and of course ice cream. And now, here are your hosts Dan Young, Kelly Young, and John Young.
Well, welcome to Sunday Chat with the Youngs. We're here with more Youngs than we were here last time.
Yes, we are.
We've got Deb Young Whittaker.
That's me.
We've got Ben Young, still young, and Kelly Young Green. As we refer to Kelly, Kelly the first Young. Kelly, our third Young, couldn't be with us today. She's under the weather. So she passes her regards to the original Kelly Young, as we say.
Well, I hope she feels better.
She will. So let's do some around the table introductions. We'll start with Deb, since you're straight across from me. Tell me who you are as a person in your soul.
Who I
Just tell me
What?
tell me what you do here on the farm, Deb.
Well, I'm the chief bean counter, as they love to call me. Accounting and IT on the side as best I can.
How did you get roped into IT? Was it just a draw straw situation?
It was nobody else wanted
No,
to do
there were
it.
no straws to draw.
No one else was going to even touch it. So
That was something we talked about last week, or last episode with Bill, was, that Bill, Carl, and Bob all had their lanes. And I think your generation, Dad included, was kind of a little bit different. It was not your lane, it's this is what you're going to do. And then you're going to hopefully do it well.
yeah, it had to be done. Somebody had to do it. I was elected.
All right, Ben, tell us about yourself.
All right. Well, been hanging out here on a farm for a long time, but now I'm a HR director, and so managing our workforce of about 300 employees, and adding to it, and sometimes subtracting from it.
It happens.
Yeah.
But I think, we've talked about over the past few months, this year's been better than the past couple. Seems like we're getting better recruits in.
Yes. Yeah. Only because we're paying more.
Well,
and that's what happens.
That helps.
Yes. And a lot of people want to work here, and we have a lot of employees that are third generation employees. Their grandparents worked here and their parents worked here. And so they feel a ownership to Young's. They feel like family, and it's kind of a tradition for them to come and work at Young's and enjoy the experience.
That was a question I had for you later, but since you just touched on it, we'll go ahead and talk about it. How many, I know there's a lot of second generation workers here, not Young family included, and there's some third. Are there any fourth generation family members that have...
Question. Family members?
Not family, employees.
Yeah, I believe there is, but I can't think of it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we do have someone here, but I got to go look at that.
I'll ask you later.
Yes.
You
right.
can think about it.
Well, no. Look it up.
Much later.
Yes.
Not
right.
today, later. Okay.
Yes, right, yeah.
All right, and Kelly?
Well, I grew up basically across the street and worked a lot of different jobs as a kid on the farm, and now I'm just back doing accounting, financial statements, a little bit of a mix-all of whatever needs done, kind of up in the office.
I think that's kind of the story of our family, is that you kind of just step up and do what's asked of you sometimes. And you do it the best you can, even if it's not your specialty. Like, you didn't go to school or do any training for IT, Deb.
No, I didn't.
You just said, I know what a network switch is, so I'm going to figure out how to use it and be the best of it.
Yeah. that's
Secretly,
pretty much.
though, she likes to work those puzzles out.
She does.
Secretly does.
I think our minds are alike on that, Deb. We like to, networking and IT tough stuff is typically logical, and we like to live in a world of logic. Like, there is a solution. I just need to find out what the solution may be.
Right.
Yeah.
Usually it's plug it in.
You plug it in,
But, yeah.
turn it off, turn it back
off.
on.
Yeah, usually.
I think of us as a large, small business, which is true what we are. And so therefore we're not a large business or a big business because we don't have a lot of depth or a lot of whole different departments where we have a whole team of people specializing in something or the other. But we do need those things done. And so, being a large, small business, you certainly get job enrichment opportunities.
Yeah.
To go do stuff that needs to get done. And especially in our business, it's like Saturdays and Sundays is more than half our business of the whole week. So therefore, that's when this stuff breaks. And
Every
when you get a
time.
message, credit cards not processing on Saturday afternoon when they're lined up to the door, if not out the door, and we got picnics going on and mini golf games being played and all kind of things, and food trucks out somewhere. All of a sudden, that's not working. It isn't like say, well, we'll get to that on Monday, and we'll get that department on it. Nope, it's got to get done now somehow. So that's how a lot of us, Deb's the chief IT person, but enough of us know almost enough to be dangerous.
Absolutely.
Which makes Deb's job even harder.
Yeah. First thing to do,
Yes.
unplug, plug it back in.
Yeah, wait 20 seconds, plug it back in,
Yeah.
and see what happens.
Yeah, sometimes that works. Actually,
Most
about
of the
half
time
the
it
time it
works.
works. So
Yeah.
that's
It does.
great.
Yeah.
Actually, you may remember I had to leave your wedding because a lightning storm took out.
No, I didn't. I didn't even know that.
You didn't. Well, I
No.
guess you weren't watching
No,
me.
I was busy.
That's true. Yeah, I got a text right in the middle of your wedding saying we have no internet anywhere, and a lightning storm had taken out a couple routers.
That's the unfortunate part about a young family wedding is
Yes.
that most of the family was there.
Yes. So I had to run out of. I waited till you finished saying your I do's, and
Okay.
then I ran out the door, and I was late getting to the reception.
Made sure Kelly didn't back out at the last second.
Yeah.
Well, my story's better than that because I missed Ben's wedding because a car drove through the front part of the store.
Oh, is that the
All
picture?
the-
Is that the picture that's...
Yeah.
That's that. Oh, that's
That
crazy.
was that day, that morning, that Saturday morning. I was in a bakery, and all of a sudden I hear a bunch of glass breaking, and I thought, well, what's that? And so I go out front, and there's a Mercedes parked pretty much at the ice cream dipping cases, and it shoved a bakery case all the way through the building, and no one got hurt, which is the main thing.
Absolutely.
But it was, that's why the origin of us putting cement-filled posts in front.
Right. Now we have planners. It's not as exciting.
Yeah, well,
That's prettier, though.
same effect.
It is.
Yeah. All right, so I know, Kelly, you said you listened to last episode with your dad. So we kind of left off. What I wanted to do for his episode was start at the beginning, since he's the one that's got all the stories from the beginning. But this time I want to talk about what you guys remember as kids, and then go on till nowish. So we'll start with Kelly on the other end.
Oh, wow.
So what
Start
is it
with
that at what point do you remember? I call it the original dairy store, but not. You were
Well, I'm by far the youngest of all of this generation.
So you remember '68 dairy store? I'm not gonna age anyone out.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember the old dairy store, but just very vaguely. I mean, my biggest memories are when we had the building that we just moved out of in its original form. We used to have the little grill in the corner. But, I mean, I also remember when we did a lot of other things on the farm, like pick your own strawberries. We sold flowers. We had a greenhouse out front. That was probably one of my funnest things that I enjoyed doing, was working in the greenhouse. And then we sold pumpkins and stuff on the porch of that old store. So that's my biggest memories of the old store when it originally was there.
Do you remember conversations between your dad and Carl and Bob about we need to go from this small operation to we need to build a different store?
And not as much, because I was pretty young at that time. I just had whatever project Carl wanted for you to do next, and my dad's like, okay, Kelly's available to do that. It was more conversations like that. But I mean, I remember, just the planning stages of when, they wanted to start getting a little bit bigger and everything.
Ben, what do you remember about that time?
The original store, I do remember them bottling milk.
Be a little closer if you don't mind.
There we go.
Be a professional.
All right. Okay. All right. And separating cream with a hand crank centrifuge, and then my first job was when I was 8. I'd sweep the parking lot every day after school. Get off the bus, sweep the parking lot. Next day, everything would be back on the parking lot. Do it again. And then I do remember when they decided it was too small, it was time to add on. And they had a plan to add on, and then it didn't quite work out, and just construction-wise, and then found a better way to build the 1968 dairy, which they designed to look like a house. And because they said if it doesn't work out, we'll put the hired man there and let them milk the cows. So it was had a plan B.
That's funny. I never heard that.
In case you look at that
Yeah.
dairy, it looked just like a ranch-style house, And so that was going to be plan B if it didn't work.
It's funny, you just said that one of your earlier memories is sweeping when you were 8. And that's something I distinctly remember when we did the expansion in the 80s, that me and Jesse were on push brooms and when we were adding on to the dining room. We were about that same age. So that's funny.
Yeah, you get trained on broom early.
Yeah.
Right.
Broom or raking hay. It seems like everyone raked hay at some point. So, Deb?
I do remember the old store. Guess that makes me old. I used to be in there when my mom she was a school teacher, but during the summer she would work in there. Do you remember Lorraine and Pauline? We all worked in there, and I was usually their gopher, go get me 3 gallons of ice cream, or my really big job was to take, eggs came in big cases, and I had to take them out and put them in dozen boxes. That was my big job.
Yeah, for retail.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And then I also got to eat any mistakes. Like if they made the wrong flavor sundae or whatever, they brought it back to me and I got to eat it. But my other first job then was about the age of 8. We used to have pony rides, and I led the ponies. I loved ponies, so it was not a problem. And that was a neat old building. I could still draw out where everything was to this day, where all the syrups and the ice cream and the cooler and the bread racks and everything.
But you can't remember what you had for breakfast this morning.
This is true, and I guess that's because I am old.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of important to remember in '68 until some time or another, we basically were an ice cream store and sort of like an early convenience store, where we had all kinds of different knickknacks and stuff for the home. It wasn't like a grocery store or anything, but it was just other stuff to buy other than our products. I remember we used to sell sardines in a can because one of our staff liked sardines. Probably that was the only person who bought sardines, in my opinion. But and then just I don't know. I want to say napkins and just stuff that you could use in the home. So we had very little food service at that time. In '68, it was, I think, probably sausage sandwiches on a rotisserie, hot dogs, and then we got a really small grill. It was like 2x3 or something, and one little tabletop fryer, and that was it as far as our food service for quite a while.
And it was interesting when you were working with that, because you would be waiting on your customers dipping their ice cream cones, but you might be cooking another guy's hamburgers at the same time on the little flat top. And so
at the beginning,
it kept you moving.
Yeah, you took the order, then you turned around and cooked it.
Mm-hmm.
There was no kitchen staff. It was you. But that was great because most things were like 3 minutes
True.
until you got the breakfast.
So one of the things that I think is important in our family, that we all come from different perspectives, and even though we disagree quite a bit over the times, we never, at least I've never been a part of a battle that didn't go past like that afternoon. Like it's nothing to hold grudges. We deal with conflict well. And do you guys know who John Taffer is? He's a TV guy. He's got a show called Bar Rescue. So he goes into a bar. It's one of those type of shows. And I was listening to an interview with him, I think it was last week, and he's got a book on conflict. And he had said, let me find the quote again. So he said, when you're going to work the rest of your life with someone, you treat them very differently than a guy in the street. They were asking, how do you deal with conflict at home, like with your wife? So, someone that you're going to live with for theoretically the rest of your life. He said, there's some equity. There's a tomorrow with this thing, and I don't want to ruin tomorrow. So I think that's, I think we can take that as something that we do as a family as well. Like, we might be mad today, but we're not done. This battle isn't going to be the end of our civilization. Like, we're going to get over it. We're going to get past it. I'll go with Ben. When we talk about conflict and differing opinions, how important is it that we all come from different perspectives but still come to a conclusion that's good for the family?
Well, when we work together, and it's the same as with our employees, we talk to our employees about, our managers, our frontline managers treat our employees like you would a customer and speak to them the same way you would a customer, or speak to them the same way you'd speak to your grandmother. And so, and just, try to get results that way. There's always been there's been conflict, and because different family members wanted to move the business in different directions, but at the end of the day, everybody wants to come together and see Young succeed and go on for another 153 years.
Hope so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You'll be here.
It seems daunting.
Yeah.
Seems daunting that at some point it's just going to be me and the rest of the fourth generation going, oh, I guess we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. That's for another episode, I think. Ben, talk about the hiring process. How you said you've been hiring people since the 80s.
Yeah.
And how many people have you said you hired over the years?
Yeah, a little over, right around 4,000. Because
right.
I got most of them on I just keep track of everybody because over the years, and we need to go back and look at their records or maybe do a recommendation. And some of my early records are hard to find. And but hired back in the 80s, we didn't have a very big staff. We'd have a staff of about total of 40 employees. And so now we're up to over 300, and actually more than that because they come and go. And so constantly we have employees that are not here. They're home. They're here while they're going to school, and then they go out of state and come back. Or others only work during the summer. And so hiring is fluid here, and so we do a lot of hiring, a lot of training, and certainly a lot of coaching.
Yeah, I think to me that's one of the things that really sets us apart as not just a food service, but as a small business, is that we take a lot of time in training. Where did that thoughtfulness come from exactly, to say, like, we're going to spend a lot of time making sure our employees deal with our customers this way all the time?
Yeah, well, if we're going to succeed in our business, we need to be better at service than the other restaurants, because the competition's intense, and a lot of people are doing a great job, and a lot of restaurants have a lot more resources than we do. And so I think we just concentrate on great service and treat our customers well, and if we do that, then they come back.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And some of those ideas that we use still today came from, I want to say 89, 90, somewhere on there. I went to a course at Disney about guest service and learned a lot. And then the following year, I liked it so much, Ben went down to Florida and did one on hiring and training employees the Disney way, or something, what it was labeled. And so a lot of what we do today is based on that. Upon occasion over the years, we've had to or have done a little bit less than what we need to do, and you can always see it. But sometimes that's just out of necessity. Like last year when we opened up this new building, we didn't have enough staff ready to go for it. But last year was a challenge to get anybody to work, and so it's a little bit less so now. But so we kind of fell short on that, and it shows. For our overall service level, as well as the strain and stress on our staff. And so we always try to go back to what we learned at Disney about guest service and how to hire and train folks. Obviously it's changed over 30 years, exactly what you're doing, but we learned a lot of fundamentals from there. And I really I don't think Young's would be what it is today quite if Ben and I wouldn't have learned what we learned there.
Yeah, you can get. Our ice cream's really good. I'm not going to say that it's the best or the worst, but it's really good. But you can get good ice cream closer. A lot of our customers come past other ice cream shops that they could also stop at. Our cheese curds are better than anyone else's cheese curds, but there's other restaurants have other specialty items. I think there's two things that really set us apart as a small business. It's one, the experience of being here on the farm, because you can't get that many places anymore. And then two is exactly what you guys were just talking about, the service. We see that in our comments online, reviews, that people are constantly impressed with. We've got kids. I'm 40, so I'm now calling our employees kids. So that's my sign of being old. We've got kids that this is their first job, and they're doing a killer job when we've got lines out the door of people demanding their ice cream. Make my happy moment, please, quickly. Because I don't want to wait in line any longer. And we've got these kids dealing with this with, I wouldn't say a minimal amount of training, but here's a week lead up into this is what chaos is actually going to look like for you. I think it's a testament to what you guys have built in terms of the foundation for customer service.
Can I brag about our staff?
Please do.
They're amazing, and we can say we have graduated many teachers, doctors, everything you can imagine have come out of here. They work their high school years and then their college years, and they're amazing people.
Yeah, we've gotten lots of feedback over the years from our former staff who have gone on to professional careers or whatever they do, that the stuff that they learned here has been very valuable to them. Well, they might not sometimes feel that while they're here because you got to deal with a lot of people, both employees or your fellow staff, as well as thousands of customers over their time of here. And so, 98% of them are great, but there's always sometimes that you have difficulties or fixing a problem or that sort of thing. You remember those. But the people skills they learn here at this kind of a business is certainly something that transcends or carries along with their career as they go forward. Now, you can't help but get the like to working with people when you're here. You can't help it because that's the job.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the biggest reasons people fail in their careers is because they can't deal with people. They don't know how to deal with conflict. It's a great training session for that, and they do well. I'm very proud of them.
So let's talk about working with family members. We all of you have siblings that have worked here in one state or the other. I don't. I get to be by myself. So Kelly, in our pre-questionnaire, you had said that one of our questions was, what kind of bad advice did you get from your brothers? And you said all of it. So I'm gonna put you on the spot. Give me one bit of that you can say on the podcast. One bit of really bad advice that one of your brothers has given you.
Actually, I said that kind of jokingly. I'm kind of fortunate, I guess, being the girl sandwiched in the middle of the two boys. I really didn't get a lot of advice for them. I was more the person that wanted to get my word in and tell them what
that doesn't sound like you at all.
Yeah. More what they should be doing. But yeah, so I really didn't, get a lot of bad advice other than probably some good role models of things not to do when they might have done ornery things and gotten in trouble. And they were sometimes big on daring you to do things that you
Sure.
took the dare and you rose to the occasion when you probably shouldn't have. Like, I do remember jumping off the top of the flat barn over there by the goats once because somebody thought that would be a good idea, and I'm lucky I didn't break my ankle.
Yeah,
But
that seems. I've done lots of dangerous things on the farm. That's not one of them that came to my mind that I wanted to do.
it used to have a little bit of a ramp of a hill there,
Oh, okay.
and it wasn't really steep, but it was not probably the best idea to do. But yeah, for the most part, again, you talk about staying in the lanes. For the most part, we were good about trying not to give each other too much advice, I think, over the years.
Yeah, I think all three of you have your volatile side, so it's probably good that you all just kept it at a 2 as opposed to a 10.
No, like I said, for the most part, we, always got along pretty well. And like I said, I was the only girl, so I think I got probably more special attention at other things and, just kind of slid right between the two of them.
You held your own. You weren't bullied, right?
No.
I'm sure you didn't allow yourself to be bullied.
Oh,
Now
no.
that I said that out loud.
Definitely not. So, definitely not.
All right, Deb, I'm going to ask you, most people that have siblings obviously live in the house with their siblings. You live next door to your sibling at work 5-6 days a week.
That is true.
How does that work out?
There's a pause. Actually, it works out fine. Yeah, we disagree sometimes, but as you said before, you just say, okay, step back. We're both trying to do our best. We're both trying to get to the same goal, so don't get mad at each other. Just step back, think about it. But for the most part, we don't have that many disagreements. So,
Correct.
Yeah. So it's actually nice having your family right there.
I mean, do we get kind of lost on the fact how cool it is that we work as a unit? I mean, a multi-generational, also like different. Like there's 3 tiers. I think of our family in the 3. The Bob, Carl, Bill, lanes. Is that something that you wake up one morning and go, isn't that kind of cool that we all work together and this is what we're doing and this is our mission and we're going to make it happen?
I think it's pretty special because I don't think you find many families that can continue on like that and have, the year after year after year that everybody does do their different things and has their different responsibilities, but in the end, you're all going after the same common goal.
Yeah, I looked up some stats on. Of course, there's small business stats, like 20% of small businesses fail within 2 years, 50% within 5, 25% only make it to 15 years and more. But I think the family-owned businesses is a different skew, because there's more ownership in I think a family-owned business. So I looked up some stats on that. So it's 40% of U.S. family-owned businesses turn into second-generation businesses. 13% make it to the third, 3% to a fourth and beyond. So we're there, kind of. We're like the three and a half generation. So I'll ask Ben. So it's because the other two were talking. How have we made it this far, and how are we going to continue to make it?
Well, time will tell.
Yeah.
And but I think we've made it this far because just of a common vision to, because everyone enjoys working on the farm, enjoys what they do, and when you divide up the, who's going to do what, you really kind of do what you're best at and what you like to do, and when you do what you like to do, you're good at it. And so if you had to come to work every day and do something you don't like, then you're looking for a new job, or you're unhappy at your job and you don't want to do it. So I think we all kind of like what we do. We like working together, and I think it's going to be a challenge to keep this business going into more generations, but as long as everybody understands the goal of Young's being a unique place for families, and a lot of our customers just feel an ownership here. I think we would let our customers down if Young's went away.
Yeah, you can tell that in the bricks that are out in front of the store. I mean, there's so many, there's a lot of in memory of, but there's so many. Our first date was here. Now we have these 3 kids that we bring here, or we got engaged here, or those types of stories. And that's something that's important to me is hearing the generational stories from our guests. Not necessarily. I mean, I think our generational story is pretty cool, but I think the guest story. When we were doing a video shoot a couple years ago, we ran into a 4-generation family that is, their grandparents brought them here. Now they're bringing their kids here. Like, that's super cool. And I think you're right, Ben. I think we would all kind of be let down if it wasn't here, because we'd be, we'd have to be sitting somewhere very far away that we don't think about it at all, to where we wouldn't feel bad about that.
And to keep a family working together multi-generation is really the same technique as to keep your customers multi-generation. It's respect, it's empathy, listen to each other, respect each other. And I think that's the same thing you try to teach employees when the new hire training you go through is to empathize with the customer, respect them, also do that with your coworker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun thing about our employees when they start here, and they're mainly 16-year-olds. We do hire some younger, but the changes they make between 16 and 18 is amazing, because they learn their social skills, they learn new friends, they learn how to deal with conflict, and they learn what a job is. Come to work, get to work on time, wear the proper uniform, and stay on task, and then they'll go off to college and maybe come back 1 year before they're off to their career. But then they come back and want to reminisce and see us and then their customers, and then they eventually bring their family.
It is amazing over the years how many employees come back and visit and want to, catch up and update on what everybody around here is doing and what they're doing in their lives, and so you can tell that it was a good experience for them in their first jobs, and they like to tell other people. I mean, that's how we get a lot of our referrals for employees, is from other employees that have worked here or family members that have worked here and liked it. So then, their children or their neighbors or whatever want to come here and work as well.
Yeah, I think last year specifically, when everyone was having a hard time getting employees, I think we still had a hard time, but I think we had less of a hard time because of that. We still got, we have so many local high schools and local college kids around here, but we have a great reputation for people's first jobs. Whether it's their actual first job or their first job dealing with customers, I think we have a great reputation that helps. So speaking of working, Kelly and Deb, you spent some time away from the farm throughout your adulthood. Ben, did you ever work anywhere else?
I worked for Borden's for a while. When I was in college, I took a quarter off. We were in quarters instead of semesters, and at that time, that was in the 70s, and Borden's was still a very strong dairy presence in the South, and their icon, Elsie the cow, was a great marketing tool for them. And so my brother and I, we went to Little Rock, Arkansas, picked up Elsie, and traveled for 10 weeks. And we went across clear to Jacksonville, Florida, then back to Houston, and moved every day. And every small town that had a Borden's plant, we went in and into the town. And the mayor would give Elsie the key to the town, and would take Elsie to schools. And we put her in elevators and took her up in buildings, and she was pretty easy going. But it was an attraction then, and folks wanted to see the cow, and they wanted to associate a cow with the milk and the dairy products. And I think that's part of what we do here, is folks can come and see the cows get milked and hear the story that we grow the hay, grow the corn, feed it to the cow, and then we turn it into cheese, and you can eat the cheese the next day.
So I think you guys are all third generation when we talk about the generations of our family. At what point did you guys as a generation say, my generation and on, you have to go work somewhere else? It's not like we forced anyone to stay here per se. It was kind of a sense of ownership of, I want to continue to work on the farm. But you guys as a generation at some point had the conversation that said, fourth generation and on, we want you to come back. We want you to help you continue this thing, but you have to go work somewhere else. What was the catalyst for that conversation?
I believe that was probably 30 years ago, 25 years ago or so, that we had a discussion. We never made it it is a rule, but it's not an official corporate rule. But we said, hey, I think it'd be a great idea to go work somewhere else. We'd read about other places doing that. It seemed like a good idea. To develop new skills, new knowledge of different things out there, because sometimes you feel insulated, even though we try not to be. But if you're here all the time, and then another thing is that for the most part, especially me, but others also, and Ben was just a short time leading Elsie around, and of course the cleanup duty was probably the most fun part of that job. Is that I never had a boss other than someone with the last name of Young, like Uncle Carl or my dad or Uncle Bill, and so I'm sure it's a much different experience for someone else having a boss that's not a Young, not a family member, and so it's more corporate, more. You got to be careful to say, well, I think this would work, or you're laying your ego on the line at another position. Here, it's more like, I think this will work, and then you just kind of gauge the reaction. If no one buys into it, you go, well, okay, I'll try something else. I'll think of something else, or I'll circle back around and think about that one again. But if you're in a different environment, working for someone else, you're going to be thoughtful about how you come at that, and so it might be better once you get back to Young's or working at Young's to use those kind of knowledge and skills.
I think so. I mean, I was away from the farm for quite a while and worked many different jobs. I started my public accounting career this will age me out a little bit, when it was Deloitte Haskins and Sells. And then we merged with Touche Ross and became Deloitte & Touche, and now it's just Deloitte. But, I think it definitely makes a difference going and working for somebody else. When I was at Deloitte, I also audited many different companies. So you learn a lot about different management styles. And after a while, you think, okay, I think I could blend into this management style, or, hey, this is a management style I don't like and wouldn't want to reproduce if I'm at my own company. And so I think it is important to go out and work other places. You meet different people, learn different management styles. You learn a lot about yourself. I think you grow up a little bit when you have to work for others and, build the responsibilities and do your job and get your performance so that you get the chance to get promoted on and everything. And then I think when you come back, you can bring all those skills back and hopefully help Young's as a business by bringing some different skill sets and knowledge from other companies back into Young's.
No, I don't know. If you guys have any thoughts, feel free to chime in.
I was away for 5 years and was doing accounting for an insurance company. And, it was a great experience. I think the thing I learned was that I can do this. I don't know, insurance accounting is way different from real world. That's the way I say it. And yet I was able to learn that, and that told me that I can learn more. It gave me confidence that I could learn to do whatever I had to do. And I actually touched on IT a little bit there. That was when
Did you really?
They were.
I told you she loves it.
They were just starting to get into the thing where you could run reports, on your computer and whatever. And often everybody else made me go down and talk to the IT people because they were always, I can't talk to them.
That's a different verbiage and culture for sure.
So I didn't know their language either, but I was willing to, try, and they were willing to teach me.
So Deb, give me your best milkshake explosion story, because everyone has one.
It was in the previous dairy, obviously. I was making my milkshake. I don't even think I'll ever know exactly what happened, but it blew up and shot straight across the counter and hit the customer right in the face. And I was covered in it too. And fortunately, he had a great sense of humor.
Fortunately.
Yes. Because we were both wearing milkshake.
Free sample.
Yeah.
At what point do you guys remember, at whatever age, that this was more than just like my family's operation, my family's farm, that we also sell ice cream and we do some stuff? Like, at what point did you realize it was more special to our community than just that? Feel free to chime in, any of you.
Trying to think of what that point was.
Like, was there a moment that...
I'm not sure there was a moment where it just flashed. I think it's just as you matured a little bit, you realized, and as you get a lot of community feedback. There are so many people in this community that like to come here, and over the years we have done so many things and tried to be involved in the community, supporting Little League and supporting the fair and just different things like that. And I think as you grow and mature, you see the effect that we have on the community, and it finally sinks in that, hey, this is really something special.
To me, it was, I'm going to go back to Disney. Those couple years that I took a course and then Ben took a course, out of that came our mission statement, which to me, solidified what we were, and is what we still are. Until then, I think of us Youngs as a phase, as we were a farm for many, many, many years. Then we were like a farm market, because we're selling our produce, our milk, straight to the public, along with some other stuff, kind of kept adding on, and then the ponies. But I don't think at that time that Deb mentioned earlier, the ponies and leading those around every Sunday, I don't think we ever connected that as something other than just something else to do on the farm. But it really wasn't thought of as a destination. It was just something else to do to attract people so they buy more ice cream. But after we came up with our mission statement, which the first part is we create fun for our customers, and that kind of has been our focus ever since. And to me, that's the point, the inflection point, at least from our standpoint. Maybe our guests knew it before we did, but it certainly gave us a focus to keep working on that, to give folks a reason to come here from 30 or 50 miles away or more and spend a half a day with their families, enjoying the farm, doing stuff, or just watching the cows.
It gets back to just when you started listening to your customers and they started telling you their story of Young's. And if you really sit down and listen to them, wow, it's very heartfelt. Their family stories at Young's and what it means to them. So I think, again, it gets back to that listening to them is when it starts to hit you that, wow, this is really special. It's not just a business. It's something more.
And I think those are the businesses that last longer, are the ones that actually have meaning and they're standing in their community. They're not just solving this specific need. They're doing a little bit more. I think we've done a good job of that throughout the years. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to put the three of you on the spot. So we all get good advice from our dads sometimes. But I'm going to give you guys have to give me a good piece of advice that you got from one of the other uncles, not your dad. So whoever wants to jump in first. So you can't choose good advice from your own fathers. You have to choose one of the other two.
Well, Bob had a lot of great sayings. And,
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Let me get the censor button ready.
Yeah, which almost none of them you can repeat. But the one I like was if you're carrying something heavy, and he would say, "Hey, that thing over there has wheels on it," and he was always he could figure out how to do things more efficient. and easier, and he was always had a concern to make sure we didn't get hurt. And because when Carl, Bob, and Bill grew up, they knew a lot of farmers that were missing a finger or an arm or had a farm accident. And knock on wood, we've never had a serious farm accident here. And a lot of that was from Bob constantly preaching, be safe and don't get yourself hurt on the farm.
I think it was part that and part also he doesn't want us to break any of the machines. I mean, the amount of times that I was yelled at for driving the Gravely too fast is unfathomable.
Well, it lasted 30 years.
It did.
Yeah.
It was funny, actually. We posted. I was thinking when you were talking about picking strawberries, there was a picture that we posted on Instagram a couple weeks ago of you and Jay and Stuart.
See, and they let me drive.
With the and I had to have a long discussion to figure out whether that Gravely was the green Gravely, and I think we discovered that was the original Gravely, and we got a second one or possibly a third.
Oh, well, no, we only had one Gravely.
I heard we got two.
No, I think it was two. Okay. I know at the end of his life, it wasn't anywhere near the original colors.
No.
It got repainted
green
once or
a couple
twice,
times.
to cover up the rust.
Yeah. Now, what about you two?
Gosh, that's hard. I
Well,
mean,
I know, that's why I asked the tough questions.
I guess mine wouldn't necessarily be a saying as much as I said. My vision of all of the boys was, like my dad, Bob, Carl, all three of them were hard workers and always hard workers. And so I guess it's not as much a saying, but I can just remember Uncle Carl. He was always doing something. And just that example of just being a hard worker. And even when he left here and went to Stocksdale's for a while, we used to go in there and eat all the time when my husband and I got married. And he was always in there and always just working hard and being a part of the business and getting that feedback. So I guess that would be my biggest impression, is just what hard workers all three of them were and the values of being that hard worker.
You've had time to think, Deb. It's your turn.
And what she said is a great thing. And Carl would always tell me when I was working in the dairy store, smile, because that's going to make your customer more friendly, usually, and you're going to make their day, so smile.
Good. You have something?
Sure. Carl would be like, I just mentioned it last week at one of our meetings, pay attention to the details every day. And seemingly you say, I'm saying the same thing every day. Yes, you are, because they just need to be paid attention to, because that's what makes a great guest experience.
So in the next episode, we're going to be talking to fourth generation young. So me and we haven't done the guest list yet. So as we start to close this out, give the fourth generation some advice, whether it's advice for here or advice for life, advice for spirituality, whatever, some meaningful advice.
Okay, I'll give you my dad's advice. There were two things he said to me over and over again. One was, when you're trying to make a decision about whether you should or shouldn't do something that you really want to do, but you're kind of have this little voice in the back of your head saying you really shouldn't do that, he said, you know what's right and you know right from wrong, and he'd just stop you right there. If you're thinking about it, there's probably a problem. The other one was to just always treat everybody else the way you want them to treat you.
Good.
Yeah, for me, growing up, my mom and dad never, ever missed work. And Dad worked 7 days a week, always. And so I think, and actually Dan and I worked 7 days a week for a long time too. And I think, and that advice I, passed on to my kids: go to work, and that's work hard, and hard work pays off. And so I think that's the advice, and we also try to instill that in our employees. That's the biggest part of the job, is to show up and do your job. Yeah,
and your kids are all hard workers. I won't compliment them to their faces, but all three of them take what they do very seriously.
Yep. Yeah, they've and that was part of the danger of telling them to go get another job.
Right.
Now we can't afford them.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'd echo some of the same as Deb and Ben. I think I would tell them a couple things. Always work hard and be honest and respectful of those around you. But also, if you're fortunate enough to find something that you enjoy doing, then you get that balance of, if you enjoy it, it's still hard work, but it doesn't seem as hard a work because you literally enjoy and you have a passion for it. So if they're fortunate enough to find something they have a passion for, then continue doing that.
And I think that's part of the what I really find important about that. The fourth generation on has to go out and do something. You can find a passion, and you can bring that passion back here, because there isn't, very rarely is there going to be a passion that you could find somewhere else out in the workforce and not bring part of it back here. Even Jesse, Katie, and Julie, they're not coming back here at any point, but they all bring insight. Jesse and I sit on the board right now as just kind of advisors, and so we're bringing back ideas from the things that we do out in the real world. No, this isn't the real world, but the other real world, the non-ice cream real world.
Sure, it'd be like remain focused on what the business is to our guests, which gets back to that mission statement, and think big. They always say that you're usually don't regret what you did, you regret more what you didn't do, and so think big and figure out how that might work here, and then figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah, life lessons on a Sunday morning for everyone.
Yeah.
Love it.
There you go.
So I appreciate you guys making time, and that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Sunday Chat with the Youngs. Find out more about Young's Jersey Dairy, and be sure to catch up on all of our episodes at youngsdairy.com. See you soon!